Sarah Squires here, the Narcissist Abuse and Parental Alienation Specialist. Today I want to talk to you about the impact of parental alienation on the alienated parent themselves. Now, usually in these situations there's a history of being passive, both in life but also within the relationship themselves. And so what they tend to do is they won't speak up for themselves because they don't want an argument, they want an easy life, so they end up just becoming quite passive. Unfortunately, what narcissists do is they use this passivity and make them eventually become submissive, and so it becomes an abusive relationship. And ultimately what the alienated parent begins to feel, even before any alienation has happened, is that their wishes and feelings aren't important, they're not taken into consideration, they feel quite low about themselves, and lots of arguments will start to happen around the children, and basically they'll be dismissed. You're not important, your opinion doesn't count, all that kind of thing. So then what can happen is there can be three main things that then happen, because no one can live like that for a long period of time. None of us can live feeling worthless for any length of time. Eventually we want to feel better than that, and so one of three things can happen. The first one is that the abused partner can snap and they can lash out. This is not advisable, obviously, but it is a plausible option. What then can happen is, in shame and embarrassment, that the alienated parent can then leave the relationship because they feel guilty for what's happened. And then the alienating parent uses that outburst as a reason to alienate the person from their life. So they will say, oh, they did this, they did that, and make it justifiable then for them not to see the children. And on some level, the parent who lashed out feels that that is a justifiable reason because they feel so low and they're ashamed of themselves. Well, the second thing that happens is they start to build their strength within that relationship, and they start to fight back. They start to say, actually, I don't agree with that. Narcissists won't like that. The narcissist will fight even harder. They'll push back. And if the abused parent is quite strong and they keep fighting back, lots of arguments will occur, and eventually either the narcissist will discard and say, I've had enough, I don't want you here anymore because it's too hard work for them, they're not getting their needs met, so they discard, or the other parent leaves because they don't want to keep subjecting the children to this level of arguing. And then either way, at that point, at that break, the abusive parent will say, you're not seeing the children. They'll find, and usually false allegations will occur at this point because it's punishment. You did this, therefore it's your fault, therefore you are guilty of X, Y, and Z. You're not going to see the kids. I'm going to use the kids to punish me. The final one is that the abused partner can sink into a deep depression, understandably, and then the abusive parent will use that against them. They will go to anyone that'll listen and say they're mentally unstable, they're an unfit parent, they shouldn't be allowed the children, I don't think it's safe for them to be around their children, and then alienate them through that process as well. So obviously this passivity, this not standing up for yourself, it's going to have an impact on your self-esteem, naturally. Like I said, most people can't survive for long without being seen and heard. And so it's important, if you are in this position, that the very first piece of work that you do is on yourself. Work to build your self-esteem, work to build your confidence, because this is going to be a battle of epic proportions. The narcissist will not give in, ever. They are going to take everything from you, every ounce that you've got. And if you're starting here, that's not a lot for them to take. You need to pump yourself up and regularly pump yourself up so that you can fight this, so you have the strength within you to fight everything that they throw at you. So work on yourself daily, work on your self-esteem and your confidence. That is your priority. But back to the impact. Even if you're emotionally strong, this is going to get to you. Of course it is. You're having your children being used, you're having them being abused, and you're losing something that's important, and it is like a living grief. And what you can end up feeling is depressed because of all those things, but also anger and frustration because you've done nothing wrong and yet you're being punished. And worse than that, your children are being punished, and that can make you angry. But what's happened is that the alienating parent has gone around telling everyone, oh, they're crazy, they're aggressive, they're mental, they're this, they're all of these things. And your emotions, that desperation, that frustration, it can come across as proving their point. So it's very important that you learn to bite your tongue, pick your battles, really be careful, because you've got to remember how it's going to be perceived. Everyone around them has been lied to and told that you're this certain person, and so they've got that image of you, and it's going to take a lot for them to change that image, even though they're meant to be non-judgmental. But everything that you do is kind of proving that hypothesis that she's presented to them. So you need to give them a brand new, different view of you. And that means, like I say, working on your self-esteem, learning to control your emotions in public. That's why we provide the support here at NAPAL, because we know how hard that is, and we know that you're going to need to vent, and you're going to need someone to sound this off and tell that they're going, and that's what we want to provide, because we understand that. But like I say, the more het up you get about it, the worse you're making the situation for yourself. And ultimately, you can end up feeling like you're in a no-win situation. And it does feel like that. And at times it is a no-win situation. They'll call the police for every little thing that you do, and you can feel like you are going to constantly be battling. There is no two ways around that, and this wears at anyone's mental health. But with this, it's preparing yourself for that, preparing yourself for the long road that lies ahead, and being aware that your mental health needs support. You need that. We at NAPOT want to provide that. If that's something you want, obviously get in touch. But if not, reach out, get yourself therapy, get yourself a counsellor, speak to someone who can help you to bolster, because you're going to need it. There's no way you're not going to need this. You're going to need some level of support. Like I say, please do come to us. We are more than happy to help. That's what we're here for. You can speak to other people in the same boat, which is enormously supportive, knowing that there's other people going through this. You can share your experiences. But ultimately what's happening is the abuse is being perpetuated as you go along, because even though you've escaped the relationship, they're continuing to abuse you because they're using your children, and therefore it's an abuse of their power. So all of those things add up for a very miserable time and a massive impact on the alienated parent. And like I said, we talked about the children in the last video. If you haven't seen that, the link is here. Okay, well, take care. If you do want any help, please do reach out to us. I will put in the comments, and it'll be on the last page, how to get in touch. And like I say, here at NAPOT, we do genuinely want to provide that level of support, so you're not going through this on your own, and you have got someone who understands and is supportive. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.